Hello, this is Little Green Ghouls, and welcome back to Goosebumps Revisited, Series 2000. This week, I'm excited to visit Revenge or Us. I once again didn't know what to expect going into this book, but heard not great things about it in my comment section. It definitely wasn't good. There was potential for an okay story here, but there were quite a few really uncomfortable moments that made the ending just feel cruel and unnecessary. It seems to share elements of better Goosebumps books that came before it, but they just don't come together. It's one I wouldn't find myself recommending if you haven't read it yet. This cover is simple and to the point. This book really is all about a magic crow, so it makes sense that a crow needs to be featured front and center. I think there could have been more of an effort to show that this is basically a magic wishes gone wrong story though. I didn't find any merchandise this week, and the concept art on the wiki once again is basically just what the cover ended up being as the final product. In the back of the book, we have the continuation of the Creep Stakes contest, where kids were challenged to finish Stein's story starter and had to use the special words at the back of a handful of Series 2000 books within their story. This week, the two words were brain and snake. I'm really hoping we'll have access to the final story product by the end of this. Our front tag says, "It's a bird's eye view of horror." And I think this tag needed to include something about magic crow spells because it's really hard to discern what this book is going to be about based off the title and cover alone. But let's check out the back of this book. Iris reached over and shook hands with me. Her long black fingernail scraped my palm. Then, moving her lips silently, she rubbed the crow's back. Once, twice, 3 times. Her eyes shut open. There, it is done. A lovely little revenge. Your brother will have a terrible accident, and he'll never recover. No, I wailed. No, please, that's not what I want. Take it back, take it back. Sorry, Iris said coldly. It's too late. Okay, let's start this summary. The book opens with an introduction to Wade Brill, and she is all about revenge. In the span of a page, she name drops 2 of her favorite horror movies, Revenge of the Worm People, which sounds like a Go Eat Worm sequel, and Revenge of the Shadow Creatures. Wade also wants us to know that she hates her older brother Micah, and for good reason. He's been terrorizing her since the day she was born, apparently. According to Wade, he teases her, tricks her, embarrasses her, and treats her like a slave, so he sounds lovely. It actually gets a whole lot worse, rapidly. Apparently last week, Wade had friends over, including a boy named Steve she has a crush on, and Micah took it upon himself to grab a pair of Wade's underwear and danced around the room with it on his head. Gross. As straight up nasty as this is, it gets worse. Micah then proceeded to try and pull off Wade's pants so everyone could see what underwear she's currently wearing. So, all of this is quite the opening to the book. What the fuck, Stein? Micah also has a habit of rooting through Wade's dresser drawers, stealing her things, and invading her privacy by reading her diary. He's a real piece of shit. The younger Goosebumps siblings usually get to be the annoying pains in the ass, but this older Goosebumps sibling is a straight up villain. Wade's parents need to send Micah away for Wade's safety, but instead they're terrible too, and think Micah is the golden child who can do no wrong. Poor Wade one time even cleaned Micah's nasty ass room, complete with a mummified mouse in it, in exchange for $25, only for Micah to rip off Wade, and the parents did nothing. Wade better get her damn revenge, or this is not going to be a very satisfying book. When Wade tells her mom about Micah stealing her fucking underwear and wearing them on his head, her mom responds, "Your brother is so funny." Because yeah, Micah is a real riot. The mom then perpetuates this harmful bullshit. He only teases you because he likes you. How about, nah? If someone likes you, they're nice to you. It's pretty simple. Wade reveals she's sharing all of this Micah trauma to explain why she loves revenge movies so much, and I'm hoping this progresses to her actively seeking revenge on Micah. I'm ready for her to go kill Bill on his ass, and it's only page 6. We jump to Wade attempting to get to her friend Erin's birthday party, but her parents are too busy to drop her off, so of course that leaves poor Wade relying on Micah. It's pouring rain and too far to walk, so she's stuck just waiting for Micah as he's nowhere to be found. She decides to walk a couple blocks to the gym to see if he's there, but in the process of this, her umbrella gets destroyed and she gets absolutely drenched. To make all of this worse, Micah of course comes flying up in his car, purposely slamming into a mud puddle, so now Wade is also covered in mud. Micah eventually throws her out at the birthday party, and Wade's friend Erin is nice enough to give her a clean pair of jeans and t-shirt to change into. While in the bathroom changing and scraping mud out of her hair, she spots an ad in the magazine for Revenge or Us, tears it out and stuffs it in her pocket. Later that night, once back at home, Wade is writing in her diary, and while looking back over her past few entries, she can see the common theme is Micah finding new ways to terrorize her every single day. She also mentions that her super secret hiding place is under her mattress, which is a terrible hiding place. Everybody knows to look there, and unfortunately so does Micah. The story jumps to a few days later with Wade hanging out at the pool with some friends. Micah is a lifeguard at the pool, because of course he is. While on a swim break, Micah proceeds to read Wade's diary over the PA system, so everyone at the pool now knows all of her secrets, and about her crush on Steve, including Steve. This event finally inspires Wade to contact Revenge R Us, but there's no phone number, only an address across town. This is feeling an awful lot like the Why I'm Afraid of Bees laboratory. Wade has no way of getting to Revenge R Us alone at this moment, so she heads out to the backyard, where she finds her mother smashing snails with a shovel. They chat for a bit, and her mother has the nerve to again tell Wade to not pick on Micah so much. Wade returns to the house where she finds Micah trying to impress a girl named Sophie. He seems to think coffee is an impressive thing, and is lying about drinking 3 cups a day as he awkwardly tries to brew a pot, like the tool he is. Wade spots her chance for revenge and offers to bring the coffee into the living room for them. Micah is suspicious but agrees. He then goes back to flirting with Sophie, where he's busy telling her lies about getting a Mustang and how he knows somebody who could get him on MTV. Wade sneaks out to the garden to gather up some flattened slugs and proceeds to add them to Micah's coffee. However, before Wade can deal out some much-deserved revenge, the mother bursts into the living room, choking, and grabs Micah's cup of coffee and starts chugging. Her expression turns to horror as she plucks a slug from her teeth and drops the coffee all over the carpet. It's a nasty scene, and I would be joining the vomit count if that happened to me. It then jumps to the next day, and Wade surprisingly survived the slug incident without even getting a grounding. I'm pretty sure if I fed my mom slugs, I wouldn't have seen daylight for the rest of summer break. She convinces her friend Carl to journey across town to Revenge R Us with her, but they don't leave until well after dinner. I'd be concerned they'd be closed, but this doesn't seem to be a thought for Wade. Before she can leave though, Micah accidentally drives over her bike with the family car, so Wade is forced to borrow her mom's bike instead. We learned Revenge R Us is in the bad part of town near a trailer park, and this is the second Series 2000 book where Stein comes for trailer parks, because he also trashed them in Bride of the Living Dummy. The kids bike across town for a few pages before reaching the trailer park, which is described as horrifically as Stein can muster. They walk past an old woman on a porch who asks if they want to buy a rooster, so it can't be all that bad. They eventually reach a bright purple trailer with red and green Christmas lights all over it, and realize this is Revenge R Us. A very not suspicious woman answers the door dressed in all purple, with black stringy hair and black lipstick. She has a crow on her shoulder though, so again, how bad can she be if she befriended a bird? Brief off topic, but I follow a page called Birds with Threatening Auras, and this video was posted there a while back, and it's been cracking me up for like 2 weeks. Back to this crow though. Wade is very unsettled by it because she feels like this crow can see into her soul and won't break eye contact with her. The lady finally introduces herself as Iris, and the crow is Maggie as she leads them into the trailer. Wade spots a human skull in the trailer, but still marches right in. Iris wants to know who Wade wants revenge on, and she tells Iris every horrible thing Micah has done to her that she can think of, and Carl fills in the ones that she missed. Iris asks what kind of revenge Wade wants, and she answers, "I want to humiliate him. I want to destroy him. I want to make him feel like a worm. I want to totally ruin his senior year." And it's like, damn Wade, go off. Good for you. Destroy him. Iris asks Wade what she's willing to pay, because it didn't seem to occur to her that this would cost anything. She then makes some large leaps in logic and starts freaking out that she's going to have to probably sell her soul. Iris just laughs and tells her to calm down because she wants cash, not souls. She's got to eat too. Wade is like, shit, I don't have any money. So Iris offers a free revenge trial with the promise that Wade will have to pay her back at some point, and they shake on it. Wade really probably should have looked into the terms and conditions on that one. Iris then rubs the crow's back 3 times with her eyes closed before popping them open and suddenly and declaring, "There, it is done." Iris goes on to say that Michael will have a terrible accident and he will never recover, which causes Wade to freak out thinking that's too far. But like, Micah gives off big time predator vibes, so it's probably best to take him out now for the good of society. Stein then sloppily reverses all of this and has Iris be like, "Oops, I forgot. You're supposed to rub the crow 3 times and think of revenge, not me. I'm so silly." It's quite the cop-out. This fills Wade with relief because she wasn't into maiming her brother, but then a few pages later, the revenge she comes up with sounds pretty bad to me. She pets the crow and wishes for Micah to develop an itch that can never be satisfied and will continue to grow and spread until it's on his tongue, in his eyes, and even his teeth, all resulting in him scratching so much his skin falls off. That sounds pretty intense to me, but you do you, Wade. Get that revenge. Carl and Wade ride home, and the moment Wade walks in the door, she's in trouble for Micah running over her bike because these parents suck ass. The family sit down for a late night dessert, and these parents continue to repulse me. Micah eats like a hog, burps, steals some of Wade's cake after whacking her in the head with a fork, and these parents just laugh because they truly think everything Micah does is wonderful. Throughout this dessert, Wade is just waiting for Micah to start itching, but nothing happens. She goes to bed disappointed, but wakes up at 5 a.m. the next morning intensely itchy, and it's like, uh-oh. I was worried things would go this direction. I think Stein is just going to torture poor Wade this entire book, and that's why I was warned about it. Stein does a great job describing this awful itching, though. I rubbed my sides, my arms, my knees. I tried not to scratch, but rubbing didn't help. Moaning in agony, I couldn't stop myself. I started to scratch. At first, I scratched lightly, but it didn't help. My skin prickled. I scratched harder. Chills swept up and down my body. I was shaking and shivering, and scratching myself furiously like a dog with fleas. Help, I murmured. I need help. I staggered out of the bathroom and slammed the door behind me. The back of my neck throbbed and itched. It felt as if thousands of insects were crawling around and around my body, covering my skin, pinching me, biting me. I started pawing frantically through the medicine cabinet. There has to be some sort of itch stopper in here, I thought. I found some pink lotion for poison ivy. With trembling hands, I slathered my shoulders and arms. Please work, I prayed, please. I clawed at my legs. My toes itched. My knees itched. The pink stuff didn't help at all. Now it was itchy and sticky. Maybe a hot bath, I decided. I ran water in the tub and took off my nightshirt. I twisted and squirmed, struggling to scratch my back and shoulder blades. And now my teeth started to tingle and itch. I soaked in the tub, letting the hot water rise over me. Please, please. Nope, not helping. The insides of my ears itched. My eyes itched. I rubbed them. I rubbed them until my eyelids burned. Out of the tub, my body was shaking, my teeth chattering. Gotta get help. Gotta get back to Iris. I stumbled back into my room, bent to scratch my legs. Oh no. Thin rivers of bright red blood trickled down my legs. I was scratching the skin off. Shaking violently, struggling not to scratch, I pulled on jeans and a top. My whole body throbbed, as if thousands and thousands of insects were squirming on my skin. She ends up trying to call Carl for help, but since she can't speak due to the intense itching, he ends up just hanging up on her. She gets dressed even though it's a painful process with all this itching and prepares to bike back to the trailer park, but realizes she can't remember the address and has no idea where she put the ad. She decides just to figure it out as she goes and races for the trailer, all while suffering silently. Once she reaches the trailer park, she wanders aimlessly for like 3 pages looking for the trailer. Lucky for her, it's not exactly hard to spot. Remember, it's bright purple and covered in Christmas lights. She actually ends up locating it by hearing Maggie's cause, and when Iris opens the door, Wade can't speak due to her tongue being swelled up from all the itching. It eventually occurs to Iris that the spell must have gone wrong, but she doesn't know how to stop it, only start it. Iris decides to try casting a different spell to cancel out the itching one, and whispers, "Smooth, soft skin. Give Wade smooth, soft skin." Shocker though, it doesn't work. I have to say, I didn't see this one being a be careful what you wish for knockoff with an even shittier witch, but actually, Wade was just impatient, the spell did work, and she's itch-free and speaking clearly. Iris is then kind of like, well, off you go, but Wade insists that she owes her revenge, even though technically Wade hasn't paid for anything. Iris reluctantly agrees, but reminds Wade that she'll have to pay up at some point. They brainstorm revenge and settle on making Micah's hair fall out on his date with Sophie, because in addition to all the other awful things we know about Micah, he's also incredibly vain. They both close their eyes and rub the crow, while Wade giggles to herself over a bald Micah. The story jumps to later, and we spend 3 pages watching Micah fix his hair. It's quite the process, with multiple gelling stages intermixed with blow drying. Eventually, Micah leaves for his date, and Wade has a fantastic evening watching penguins on the Discovery Channel. The penguin appreciation is rudely interrupted though, when Wade notices thick black hair on the back of her hand, a la My Harriest Adventure. Is this book just a retread of previous better scares? Kind of. Wade's mind jumps to werewolves briefly. First the obvious, that another spell has gone wrong. She checks a mirror and spots thick black hair on the back of her neck, and when she looks at her hands again, they're fully fuzzy like bear claws. She then looks back in the mirror and sees thick hair growing on her forehead. This hair is a lot more rapid than My Harriest Adventure, I'll give it that. This goes on for a bit longer, with hair sprouting from her ears, furry gorilla legs, and it finally results in her looking like some sort of creature. She sneaks out to venture back to the trailer park, but when she tries to ride her mom's bike, her leg hair gets caught in the gears, rendering her unable to bike. She must be looking like Chewbacca's son Lumpy. She tries to walk over to Carl's for help, but is attacked by a very confused dog who is just trying his best to be a good boy and defend the family from this mystery beast. She runs through the neighborhood, and gradually, more dogs start following her until she has a pack of 6 dogs chasing after her. She falls to the ground in Carl's yard and is nearly eaten by a German Shepherd, but Carl comes out with a rake and chases off the pack of dogs. He mistakes Wade for some sort of zoo animal and keeps saying things like, "Easy boy," at her. I have to say, some of these sequences are making me laugh. I feel bad for Wade because it's not like she deserves this, but this book had been a lot more fun with a less likable protagonist, like Eddie from You Can't Scare Me. and if we removed all the creepy underwear shit from the first 3 pages. Carl and Wade walk to the trailer park, and along the way, Carl has to swat away more packs of dogs with his rake, defend Wade from a group of rude teenagers, and at one point the cops are called on them because of reports of a strange creature wandering the town. When they reach the trailer, Iris doesn't answer the door, so they do some classic Goosebumps breaking and entering and let themselves on in. Maggie's alone in the trailer, so Wade thinks they can just use her without Iris. I'm sure this will go well. Fun side note, Wade is now so gigantically fluffy, she can barely fit through the door with all of her hair, and Stein describes her as a cush ball, since it's 1998. Carl hands Wade the crow, and Wade says, "Go away. Hair, go away." She then drops to her knees because the hair is so thick and heavy, she can no longer stand. Carl then lets out a cry, because suddenly he has hair sprouting on the back of his hands, just like Wade did. I'm not sure how this makes any sense, but who cares? Iris is suddenly back, and she is pissed to find these 2 hooligans hanging out in her trailer, playing with her magic bird. She gets over this though when she realizes Wade is gonna suffocate in all this hair. Iris grabs Maggie, and soon Wade is itchy again. This time though, because all the hair is retracting back into her body, which is kinda gross to think about. Iris declares she still owes Wade some revenge, but this time Wade is less eager to accept her help. She eventually concludes she's suffered twice so far, so it at least needs to be for a reason, and accepts Iris's offer. Iris thinks she solved the problem. Wade needs to go home when she performs the spell, so it doesn't lash onto her, instead it goes to Micah where it's supposed to. Which, again, doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but we're going with it. This time, Iris promises to make my troubles disappear, which seems right for things to go magically wrong. We then jump to the next morning, where Wade receives bad news. Her mom and dad are off for a romantic evening, and Micah's being left in charge of Wade. This book has depressing moments because Wade literally fears being left alone with her own brother, and he immediately starts forcibly tickling her. It's not good and about to get worse. The parents left a list of chores for Wade and Micah to split, but Micah blackmails Wade into doing all of the chores because apparently that morning he snuck into Wade's room while she was sleeping and took a picture of her in her underwear and threatens to distribute the photo. Like I said, Micah's a fucking predator and deserves the worst. Thanks for making this video uncomfortable, Stein. After dinner, Micah leaves the house and Wade meets with Carl to complain how the spell hasn't worked yet. Wade eventually ends up going to sleep that night with no sign of Micah returning home yet. She then has a nightmare about Iris. In the nightmare, Maggie flaps her wings 3 times and then turns into a mystery girl, who then spins 3 times and turns into Iris, who shakes her hair 3 times and turns into a crow that attacks Wade. She wakes up screaming and then explores the house to discover still no signs of Micah. I'd be like, "Hail Satan!" But Wade is worried Micah's been deleted from existence. She calls his friends and learns Micah never showed up last night. And I think we're supposed to care. The parents return and want to know where Micah is. Wade tries lying that he left for work early, but the parents figure out that he stayed out all night. The dad, of course, is like, "What a rascal." Because, like I said, Micah is the golden child in this family. Wade heads back to Iris's house to beg her to bring Micah back, for reasons I don't understand. Iris is like, "This spell is too complicated to just reverse for free, and it's gonna cost you." Wade then reluctantly agrees to pay the price. Iris warns her that it's going to be dangerous, but wants Wade to venture back across town to visit Iris's twin sister, Paula, who just so happens to live in an abandoned house in Wade's neighborhood, known as the Dead House. Maybe we'll find out this city is full of undead mutants in a final page twist. That would be a book redemption. Iris wants Wade to break into Paula's house and to steal another crow named Minnie, who apparently is even more powerful than Maggie. Paula likes to use her powers for evil, so Wade's gonna have to be careful as she tries to rob this witch, because without the other crow, Iris won't be able to bring Micah back. And what a tragedy that would be. Wade heads straight to the dead house and sneaks through the front door. The house seems to be entirely abandoned, with no light and cobwebs everywhere. She creeps through the halls, waiting to hear the sounds of Minnie's cause, but hears nothing. She eventually stumbles across the bird, swinging silently in a tiny cage in a busted up living room. Wade thinks, well, that was easy, and then spots Paula sleeping in a chair in the corner. We then have a few pages of Wade tensely sneaking up on Minnie, and just when Wade is about to escape, Paula hops to life and bolts full speed straight at Wade, like a cheap horror movie scare. Wade drops the cage, which causes Minnie to start screeching. Things get real stupid though, because Paula pulls back her stringy black hair, and Wade is face to face with Micah. This isn't anything interesting, it's just a big heaping serving of bullshit. Wade then learns that all of this was a setup. Micah spotted the Revenge R Us ad on Wade's dresser, and went to Iris before Wade could, so all the events of this book were Micah's revenge on Wade. Iris wasn't screwing up spells, she was casting them on Wade on purpose. Micah takes off his wig and declares he got the crow from a pet store, where everybody gets a crow. He also reveals he paid Iris $300 to pull all this off. He then gleefully leaves the house while Wade wonders what she did to deserve this life, and I'm left wondering why Stein wrote this story. We still have like 15 pages to go, and Wade spots Minnie in her cage and has an idea. so hopefully this goes somewhere that's at least tolerable. I'm not optimistic. 2 days later, Wade summons Micah to the stairs with a crow perched on her arm. She commands him to do a backflip and he just laughs, but then suddenly he starts doing backflips throughout the house. Wade reveals she snuck back into Iris's house and switched out the crows, so now she has the true magical crow, Maggie. Carl stops by and they both laugh at backflipping Micah for a bit before deciding to transform him into a slug. I find these few pages decently satisfying. I'm just waiting for her to pour salt and slug Micah. After watching Micah struggle on the carpet for a bit, Carl suggests they turn him into a frog, which provides some more entertainment, until there's a knock at the door. Wade opens it and is shocked to find Iris. Wade thought Iris had no idea where they lived, but I guess Micah paid her with a check which had their address on it. Remember, it's 1998. This book is still a hot mess though. Iris snatches back Maggie because Wade wasn't smart enough to cast a spell first. Iris then declares she's going to teach them a lesson about stealing and tells them to leave revenge to the professionals. Wade and Carl beg to not be turned into frogs, and before Iris can cast her spell, Wade grabs Maggie back. No one has a very good hold on this bird apparently. Wade casts a spell turning Iris into a frog, but in a last page twist, Iris starts asking how many spells she cast that day, and Wade learns she can only do 3 a day or the 4th spell gets cast onto her, because of course it does. Iris's reaction to this makes no sense, because she was literally about to turn Wade into a frog herself, but suddenly she's like, oh no, now you're gonna turn into a frog. It makes no fucking sense. Wade then starts to shrink and ribbit, and that's how this one ends, with poor abused Wade getting turned into a frog in a horribly unsatisfying ending. Overall, I thought Revenge or Us was a stupid title for a stupid book. We were on quite the hot streak with these Series 2000 books, and that came to a screeching halt. I don't really get what Stein was going for with this one. He did nothing but abuse a likable protagonist with a predatory brother. If this story had a less likable protagonist, like maybe Todd from Go Eat Worms, parts of it could have worked, but really, in general, this book was just an unpleasant, sloppy experience. I don't have anything nice to say. I'm gonna give this one 1 out of 5 crows. This book just made me angry and sad for Wade. As far as the vomit count goes, Wade made mention of feeling sick at one point during the story, but there was no actual vomiting in this one. This leaves our Series 2000 total to 7 vomits. Well, that's it for Revenge or Us. This book sucked and had some really uncomfortable moments. Next week is Fright Camp, and I'm optimistic for this one, solely based on the camp book track record of the original 62. Let me know in the comments what you thought of Revenge or Us. What wish would you have for Micah? Do you think this story had potential, or was it a dud across the board? Will Wade ever get her revenge? Also, what did you think of my revenge horror clips this week? Revenge is such a common theme in horror that it was pretty easy to source the clips for this one. Anyways, as always, thanks again for watching, and make sure you subscribe for
the pride, the love,